Stop scrolling right now. The government has just announced a £500 cost of living boost for millions of households across the UK, and if you don't know whether you qualify, you could be missing out on hundreds of pounds this November. I'm going to break down exactly who gets it, when it hits your bank account, and how you can make this money work for you, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of this, because the details could literally save your household hundreds. Stay with me until the end, because I'll also show you the common mistakes that could make you miss out and how to avoid them completely. If you want all the latest updates on payments, benefits, and money-saving tips that I personally bring to you first, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is all about helping you understand exactly what you're entitled to, and I upload content like this regularly, so you won't miss anything important. Just click subscribe, it only takes a second, and it really helps me keep bringing you these updates. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into something that's affecting millions of people across the United Kingdom, and that's the newly announced DWP £500 cost of living boost. We're going to break down everything you need to know about this payment, including who qualifies, when you'll receive it, and what this means for your household budget in November 2025. So let's get straight into it, because there's a lot to cover and you'll want to make sure you don't miss out on support you might be entitled to. The Department for Work and Pensions has officially confirmed a significant financial support package designed to help struggling households cope with the ongoing pressures of rising living costs. This £500 payment represents the government's continued commitment to protecting the most vulnerable members of society during what continues to be a challenging economic period for many families. While inflation has shown signs of stabilizing compared to the peak of the crisis, the reality is that energy bills, food prices, and housing costs are still hitting household budgets incredibly hard. Many families are finding it difficult to balance essential expenses with everyday needs, and this is where the new payment scheme comes in to provide some much-needed breathing room. What makes this payment particularly important is the timing. November 2025 falls right at the start of the winter season, when household expenses traditionally increase due to heating costs and the approach of the holiday period. The government has recognized that this is when financial pressure is at its highest for many families, especially those already living on tight budgets or fixed incomes. The £500 boost is intended to act as a financial cushion, helping households manage these seasonal spikes in spending without having to make impossible choices between heating their homes and putting food on the table. It's worth noting that this payment builds on the foundation of previous cost of living support schemes that have been running since 2022. Though there are some important differences in how this particular payment is structured and delivered. Now let's talk about who actually qualifies for this payment, because this is probably the most important information you need to know. The eligibility criteria are based primarily on whether you're receiving certain means-tested benefits or pension entitlements during what the DWP calls the qualifying period. If you're currently receiving universal credit, you should be eligible for this payment provided your claim was active during the assessment period. This applies whether you're in work or out of work, as universal credit supports both employed people on low incomes and those actively seeking employment. The key thing is that your benefit wasn't reduced to zero during the qualifying period due to earnings or other circumstances. Pension credit recipients are another major group who will receive this support. If you're a pensioner receiving pension credit, either the guarantee credit or the savings credit element, you should automatically qualify for the £500 payment. This is particularly significant because pensioners have been identified as one of the groups most affected by rising costs, especially given that many live on fixed incomes that don't keep pace with inflation. The government has made pensioners a priority focus of this support scheme, recognizing the additional vulnerabilities this group faces during the winter months when heating becomes essential rather than optional. Income-based job seekers allowance is another qualifying benefit. If you're receiving JSA and it's the income-based version rather than the contribution-based version, you should be covered under this scheme. The same applies to income-related employment and support allowance. This is the version of ESA that's means-tested and designed for people who have limited capability for work due to illness or disability. If you're receiving the contribution-based version only, you won't automatically qualify unless you also receive one of the other eligible benefits alongside it. Income support is also a qualifying benefit, though it's worth noting that this is a legacy benefit that fewer people receive now since the introduction of universal credit, but if you're still on income support, you absolutely qualify for this payment. For families with children, if you're receiving child tax credit or working tax credit through HMRC, you should also be eligible. These are the older style tax credits that predate universal credit, and many families, particularly those with slightly higher incomes who don't qualify for universal credit, still receive these payments. The government has confirmed that tax credit recipients will be included in this support scheme, recognizing that these families face significant financial pressures too, especially with the costs of raising children continuing to increase. Housing benefit recipients are also covered, which is important for people who are still on the legacy benefit system rather than universal credit. There are also considerations for people receiving disability-related benefits. If you receive personal independence payment, disability living allowance, or attendance allowance, you may qualify for the payment depending on your other circumstances. The government recognizes that disabled people and their carers often face additional costs related to their conditions, including higher energy bills for medical equipment or heating needs, and these extra costs make the support even more crucial. Some reports suggest there may be additional payments or prioritization for households with disabled members, though the exact details are still being finalized by the DWP. One really important point to understand is that if you receive benefits from both the DWP and HMRC, you won't receive two separate £500 payments. The system is designed so that you receive one payment in total, and it will usually be paid by the DWP rather than HMRC. This prevents duplication and ensures the system is fair, though it also means you shouldn't expect multiple payments if you happen to qualify through different benefit routes. Similarly, if you have a joint claim with a partner, you'll receive a single payment between you rather than one payment each. The payment is designed to support households rather than individuals, which is why it's structured this way. Now let's talk about the payment schedule, because everyone wants to know when this money will actually hit their bank account. According to the official information that's been released, the £500 payment will be distributed between the 11th of November and the 29th of November 2025. This means payments will be rolling out throughout most of November, with most people receiving their money within this timeframe. The exact date you receive your payment will depend on several factors, including which benefit you receive, how your claim is processed, and the normal payment cycles that apply to your particular benefit type. The distribution will happen in batches to avoid overwhelming the payment systems and to ensure that the process runs smoothly. This phased approach is similar to how previous cost of living payments were handled, and it's proven to be an effective way of getting money to millions of people without causing technical problems or delays. The DWP uses automated systems to identify eligible claimants and process the payments, which means you don't need to do anything to claim this money. If you're eligible, the payment will come to you automatically without any application process or forms to fill in. When the payment arrives in your account, it should appear with a reference that makes it clear what the payment is for. Most people will see it labeled as DWP Kernel Support or Cost of Living Support on their bank statements. This clear labeling helps you identify the payment and distinguish it from your regular benefit payments. The money will be paid directly into the same bank account where you normally receive your benefits or tax credits, so you don't need to provide new bank details or make any changes to your account information unless your circumstances have recently changed. It's worth mentioning that while the main payment window runs through November, some people might receive their payment slightly later depending on individual circumstances. For example, if your benefit claim was awarded at a later date or if you recently changed your bank account details, there might be a slight delay while the system processes these changes. However, everyone who's eligible should receive their payment by the end of November at the latest, and if you haven't received it by the 30th of November and you believe you're eligible, that's when you should start making inquiries with the DWP. Now let's address what you need to do to make sure you receive this payment without any problems. The most important thing is to ensure your benefit claim is active and up to date. If you've had any changes in circumstances that you haven't reported to the DWP or HMRC, now is the time to get those sorted out. Changes like moving house, changes in income, or changes in your household composition all need to be reported promptly, and failing to do so could affect your benefit payments and potentially your eligibility for the cost of living support. You also need to make absolutely certain that your bank details are correct and up to date with the DWP or HMRC. If you've changed bank accounts recently and haven't informed the relevant department, your payment could be sent to the wrong account and you'll face delays in getting it sorted out. You can update your bank details through your Universal Credit Online account if you're a Universal Credit claimant, or by contacting the office that pays your benefit directly. It's worth doing this sooner rather than later to avoid any potential issues when the payments start going out in November. If you're a Universal Credit claimant, It's a good idea to keep an eye on your online journal for any updates or messages from the DWP about the payment. The DWP sometimes uses the journal system to communicate important information about payments and claim updates. Similarly, watch out for any letters from the DWP as they may send written confirmation about the payment schedule or any actions you need to take. However, be extremely careful about scam messages. Unfortunately, whenever there are government payments being made, scammers become more active trying to trick people into giving away personal information or bank details. The official position from the DWP is very clear on this point. They will never ask you to apply for this payment, they will never ask you for your bank details via email or text message, and they will never ask you to pay any kind of fee to receive the payment. If you receive any messages asking you to click links, provide personal information, or pay money to claim your cost of living payment, it is absolutely a scam and you should report it and delete it immediately. The genuine payment will arrive automatically in your account without any action required from you, and any communication from the DWP about it will come through official channels like your online Universal Credit Journal or letters sent to your registered address. Now let's put this payment into context with other support that's available. The £500 cost of living payment doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a broader package of government support designed to help households manage their expenses. For example, the Warm Home Discount Scheme provides help with electricity bills for people on low incomes or receiving certain benefits. This is separate from the cost of living payment and provides a discount directly on your energy bills during the winter months. If you're eligible for both, you'll receive both forms of support. There's also the Household Support Fund, which is administered by local councils and provides grants to help with essentials like heating, food, and other basic necessities. This fund has been extended and continues to operate alongside the National Cost of Living Payment Scheme. The advantage of the Household Support Fund is that it's more flexible and can help with specific crisis situations or one-off expenses that you're struggling with. It's worth checking with your local council to see what support is available through this fund in your area, as the exact provisions and eligibility criteria can vary from council to council. For people struggling specifically with council tax, many councils operate their own council tax reduction schemes or hardship funds that can provide additional support. These local schemes can be incredibly valuable and sometimes offer support that isn't available through national programs, so it's always worth investigating what your local authority offers. Combined with the national cost of living payment, these local sources of support can make a significant difference to household budgets. Energy price support also continues through various mechanisms, including the Energy Price Guarantee, which is being reviewed and adjusted to help keep domestic energy bills under control. While energy prices remain higher than they were a few years ago, the various support mechanisms in place do help to cushion the impact compared to what bills would be without any intervention. For households that are really struggling with energy costs, most energy companies also operate their own hardship funds and can offer payment plans or other support, so it's worth speaking directly to your energy supplier if you're having difficulty keeping up with bills. Looking at the bigger picture, this £500 payment represents more than just the immediate financial value. For many households, it provides crucial breathing room at a time when budgets are stretched to breaking point. The psychological impact of knowing that this support is coming can't be underestimated either. Financial stress takes a serious toll on mental health and well-being, and knowing that help is on the way can reduce some of that anxiety and pressure. The payment can be used for whatever the household needs most, whether that's catching up on bills, stocking up on food, buying winter clothing for children, or building up a small emergency fund to provide a buffer against unexpected expenses. Financial experts suggest several smart ways to make the most of this payment depending on your individual circumstances. If you're behind on priority bills like rent, mortgage, or utilities, using the payment to catch up on these arrears should be the first priority, because falling behind on these essential payments can lead to serious consequences like eviction or having your energy supply disconnected. If you're up to date with priority bills, consider whether you can use some of the money to pay ahead on utilities or build up credit on your energy account ahead of the winter when consumption increases. This can help smooth out your monthly expenses and reduce the shock of high winter energy bills. For families with children, it might be worth allocating some of the payment toward essential items that children need but that can be expensive, like winter coats, school shoes, or other clothing items. Getting these purchases out of the way while you have the extra money means you're not scrambling to find funds for these necessities later when something wears out or a child has a growth spurt. Another sensible use of the money is to build a small emergency fund if you don't already have one. Even having £50 or £100 set aside for genuine emergencies can prevent you from having to resort to expensive short-term credit options if something unexpected happens. Some people might be wondering whether receiving this cost of living payment will affect their other benefits or whether they need to report it as income. The good news is that this payment is non-taxable and it doesn't count as income for benefit assessment purposes. This means it won't reduce your universal credit or other means-tested benefits, and you don't need to declare it on any benefit forms or for tax purposes. The payment is designed as additional support that sits outside your normal benefit income, precisely so that it provides genuine extra help rather than just being clawed back through reduced benefit entitlements. It's also worth understanding what happens if you think you should be eligible but don't receive the payment. The first step is to wait until the end of November because, as we discussed, payments are being rolled out in batches throughout the month. However, if you reach the end of November or early December and you haven't received the payment despite believing you're eligible, you should contact the office that pays your benefit. For universal credit claimants, you can make inquiries through your online account or by calling the Universal Credit Helpline. For other benefits, you'll need to contact the specific office that administers your claim. When you make contact, have your national insurance number ready and be prepared to explain why you believe you should be eligible for the payment. The DWP can then check your records and determine whether you should have received the payment and if so, why it wasn't processed. In some cases, there might be a simple administrative reason for the delay that can be quickly resolved. In other cases, there might be an issue with your benefit claim itself that needs to be addressed. Either way, it's important to follow up rather than just assuming you weren't eligible, because sometimes genuine mistakes do happen and payments get missed. Looking forward, it's important to understand that this £500 payment is currently structured as a one-off payment for November 2025. The government has indicated this is a transitional support measure while broader welfare policy is being reviewed for 2026. There aren't currently any confirmed plans for additional payments in subsequent months, though this could change depending on economic conditions and political decisions. Previous years saw cost of living payments split across multiple installments throughout the year, but the current November 2025 payment is being delivered as a single payment rather than being split up. This means that it's particularly important to use the money wisely and plan ahead, because you can't rely on additional payments coming in later months. Think about how the £500 can provide the most value across the upcoming months rather than viewing it as money that can be spent all at once. For example, if you know that energy bills will be higher in December and January, consider keeping some of the payment aside specifically for those months rather than spending it all in November. This kind of forward planning can help the payment provide support across a longer period rather than just solving immediate problems and leaving you struggling again a few weeks later. For pensioners receiving this payment, there's additional context worth understanding. The government has made clear that supporting pensioners through the winter is a priority, recognizing that older people are particularly vulnerable to the health impacts of cold weather and often face higher heating costs because they spend more time at home and may need to keep their homes warmer for health reasons. The £500 payment comes on top of other pensioner-specific support like the winter fuel payment, although the winter fuel payment has been reformed and is now more targeted toward pensioners receiving pension credit rather than being a universal payment for all pensioners. This targeting of support toward those in greatest need is a theme across current welfare policy. The aim is to ensure that limited government resources go to the people who need them most rather than being spread so thinly that they don't make a meaningful difference to anyone. While some people who don't qualify for the payment might feel this is unfair, the reality is that with economic constraints, difficult decisions have to be made about how to allocate support. The current approach focuses on means-tested benefits precisely because these are received by people on the lowest incomes who are struggling the most with rising costs. As we wrap up, let's summarize the key points you need to remember. The £500 DWP cost of living payment is being paid to people receiving qualifying means-tested benefits or pension credit during November 2025. Payments will be made automatically between November 11th and November 29th, directly into the bank account where you normally receive your benefits. You don't need to apply for this payment, but you do need to make sure your benefit claim is active and your bank details are up to date. The payment is non-taxable, doesn't affect other benefits, and can be used for whatever your household needs most. If you receive benefits from both DWP and HMRC, you'll get one payment rather than two, and joint claimants receive one household payment. Watch out for scam messages and remember that the DWP will never ask you to apply, provide bank details via text or email, or pay fees to receive this money. If you haven't received your payment by the end of November and you believe you're eligible, contact the office that pays your benefit to make inquiries. Make sure you also look into other support available through schemes like the Household Support Fund, Warm Home Discount, and local council support programs. This payment represents significant support for millions of households across the UK who are still feeling the squeeze from high living costs. While it might not solve every financial problem, it provides crucial help at a time when many families need it most. By understanding your eligibility, knowing when to expect the payment, and planning how to use it effectively, you can make sure this support has the maximum positive impact on your household finances. Stay informed, stay vigilant against scams, and make sure you're claiming all the support you're entitled to. Thanks for watching, and I hope this breakdown has been helpful in understanding the DWP £500 cost of living boost for November 2025.